At a time when the BCCI has been pushing for Indian players to reprioritize red ball cricket, whether that be at test level or at first class level, one player who you could say was the catalyst for so much public campaigning for a change was in fact Shreyas Iyer. The reason for that was that Iyer, when he was dropped from the test team, chose not to make himself available for his team Mumbai, despite the fact that most believe that he's fit. And while it's worth noting that whether or not he's fully fit is something that can be contested, given we've heard from both sides what exactly the status of his so-called injury was, now there has been a new development, one that comes at a very interesting time, given you are hearing from more and more places that the BCCI is keen to use any means necessary, whether it be the carrot, whether it be the stick, to get centrally contracted players to take up test cricket and domestic red ball 4-day cricket once again. The big development is that Shreyas Iyer is now going to make himself available for Mumbai's Ranji Trophy semi-final that they will be facing against Tamil Nadu. This news comes from a reputed local daily, the Times of India, and a source there told, let's say, the newspaper that Iyer has confirmed to the Mumbai Cricket Association that he is fit now and available for Mumbai's Ranji semi-final match. Now, two things worth picking out here. One is the idea that he was suffering with an injury, something that there have been to's and fro's or contrasting reports about, is a line that the Iyer camp is definitely sticking with as things stand. They did maintain that he did experience back spasms, and that was the only reason he did not make himself available for the quarterfinal. Otherwise, he would have been playing that too. But the thing is, whatever you think of his fitness issues, the fact is he has now finally made himself available for Mumbai in the Ranji Trophy, which does show that there is at least some level of, let's say, there's some percentage or some part of Shreyas Iyer that wants to be a test match player for India. It's either that or potentially the threat of losing out on his central contract and not being allowed to take part in the IPL that has worked some sort of wonders. Because if you go by how it is that Shreyas Iyer's test career was going prior to this, it wasn't exactly going great. It's worth noting that he did struggle against South Africa in the series that preceded this, and that was in South Africa, so there was a little bit of leeway given his well-known problems with short ball bowling. But he then also struggled against England in home conditions. In fact, his highest score was 35 in the 2 test matches and the 4 innings where he did bat. So it's not to say he wasn't given a fair run of things. That being said, he was dropped from the side for the remaining 3 tests, and since then has been told to go back to domestic cricket, refused initially, and has now gone back. So he did miss the quarterfinal match, but has now made himself available, and the timing, let's just say, is interesting to say the least, because it comes at a time when the BCCI has said through multiple sources in the news media that they are considering scrapping Iyer's and Ishan Kishan's central contracts. There have been talks about mandating to centrally contracted players that you need to be playing a few domestic games in order to be eligible to play the IPL. And also earlier in the day, there was a breaking news which said that the BCCI is also considering increasing the fees, the match fees as well as bonuses for players involved in test cricket. Now, is any of this playing a part in Shreyas Iyer suddenly making himself available? Was it actually the case that he was that he was unfit all along in the first place, and that he's now finally making himself available because he feels that those back spasms or whatever caused him alarm was a false alarm? Is it simply down to the fact that he saw that perhaps the writing was on the wall, and that if he needed to make a comeback, a good IPL would not cut it? We never really know. Perhaps it's a combination of all the factors, but what we do know is that Shreyas Iyer, who of course up until very recently was seen as a vital part of India's test team, at least in home conditions, has now made himself available to play domestic Ranji Trophy cricket. So maybe the BCCI's strict push is working after all. It did work in the case of Iyer. It hasn't yet worked in the case of Ishan Kishan, although it is also worth noting that his domestic side Jharkhand are no longer in the running in the Ranji Trophy. But whether or not he prioritizes Ranji Trophy in the future is something that remains to be seen. What we know is that Iyer has done just that. How he performs now is something that will be interesting to note, especially when you consider that Mumbai would be seen as one of the favorites to go on to win the title. But again, that's a story for another time. We'll keep you updated on that as and when it happens. If you enjoyed this video, you can let us know that in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon as well. Follow us also on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTak app, and last but not least, check out some other videos we have uploaded as well. For now though, from my side, it's goodbye.